So you've defeated the evil demon that was possessing the villager, and unfortunately, the villager's soul was tied to this demon, and it is dead as well. So you're in this abandoned house.
Interesting.
You look around, and there doesn't seem to be anything of value in this. It was very a squalor place. Nothing of interest or value around. What would you like to do?
I'm going to leave. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to head out.
Really, the rogue is going to leave without stealing anything.
Nothing's of value.
Well, turns out your rogue may not be Kleptomaniac. This is a little bit different than our other Diagnosis episodes.
Because I think most people know the term kleptomaniac, and they know what kleptomania is, and that desire to steal things, and they think it applies to a rogue because that's what rogues do. Rogues are thieves. That's kind of their bit. They take things. They try to steal the noble's necklace off their neck in the middle of a busy street, and with a natural one, your party is on the run. So,
But
but
diagnostically, so kleptomania is a DSM-V diagnosis. We're using the player's handbook and the DSM-V for this episode. The DSM-V is where the term kleptomania comes from for this because it's diagnosable. Here are some of the features. Recurrent failure to resist impulses to steal objects that are not needed for personal use or their monetary value.
if you are a rogue who's stealing because you want the money or you want it for some actual reason, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Increasing the sense of tension immediately before committing the... Oh. When did that come on?
I don't know if I had it on this whole episode.
Kleptomaniac.
This is important because most of the time when your rogue is stealing something, it's because they're greedy and they want the money.
Or they need to take something from somebody else, or there's a purpose behind it. This is more about the impulse and that it's not actively contributing to something or for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Number B, criteria B, increasing sense of tension immediately before committing the theft. I think that this sometimes, it fits for the players.
But not for the character. The character is normally so relaxed,
Yeah.
and they have no emotions.
Because you want to be suave when
Yeah.
you're stealing.
Yeah.
Exactly. C, pleasure, gratification, or relief at the time of committing the theft.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Could be.
could be, but I don't think we see that very often. We see some celebration, but it's not really this sense of relief or pleasure or gratification. We could definitely build a rogue character
Off
that
of
fits
this,
this,
but-
and we'll talk about that later.
But I think for the most part, they're not excited about the theft. They're excited about what the theft has gotten them.
Right.
Which is the money or the item or the whatever it may be that they're trying to steal.
Which perpetuates the idea that they don't meet criteria A. Criteria D is the stealing is not committed to express anger or vengeance, and it is not in response to a delusion or an hallucination.
So basically, if you're doing it vindictively, then it doesn't fit. And I feel like, again, a lot of rogues, you know, the town constable gives them some like stank eye when they get into the city, and the rogue's like, okay, is he watching? I'm gonna steal his hat. You know, that's how they react. It's not I'm just gonna rob them.
And here is the final nails on the coffin. If you've watched our first episode, your D&D character might be a sociopath. This is something to pay close attention to. Criteria E. The stealing is not better explained by conduct disorder, manic episode, or antisocial personality disorder.
Which, from our first episode, this definitely better fits all of those than it does kleptomania.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is of all of the terms that I don't know, like if you say the term kleptomania, at least in my circle of friends, not counting the counselor, everyone still knows the term. Like, I mean, there was like a kleptomania in an episode, or kleptomaniac in an episode of Drake and Josh. Like, you know, it's just thrown into things. SpongeBob, there's a kleptomania, I'm sure, you know, so.
And so let's talk about what we would have to do to make a rogue a kleptomaniac.
Okay.
So one of the key features of being a kleptomaniac is this impulsivity and this drive that you can't resist. And so one easy way to play a rogue as a kleptomaniac is to make them have to roll a d4 every once in a while. And if they roll a 2 or a 4, they have to steal something right next to them.
Yep, it has to happen. They have to attempt it. They don't get a choice, which I think is brilliant. I think it's a great way to kind of change up a class that you maybe have been used to playing.
Yeah, bring some more spice to it. And making sure that what you're stealing isn't valuable. It's just, it's more about, I have to steal something rather than this would be a useful thing for me to have.
Yeah, and I think, interestingly enough, Sam Riegel, who plays Not the Brave in season 2 of Critical Role, fits a lot of these criteria really well, especially early on in the campaign.
One really cool thing about this is oftentimes individuals with kleptomania are very afraid of being apprehended. They're afraid of the consequences of their actions. And so creating a rogue that is really afraid of being caught for theft, but is impulsively stealing things. And so they steal something and they get this pleasure, this sense of like, oh, that felt so good. And then, oh my gosh, were there any cops around?
Did anyone see that? And I think one way that could work so well is that it's giving you almost an opposite of a rogue. It's like the accidental rogue.
Yeah.
Like he shouldn't have been a rogue, but it just kind of happened. Turns out when you have high stealth and high sleight of hand and a desire to steal things, you quickly accrue a lot of crimes under your belt. So rogues, I feel like often they'll hide, like, you know, like, oh, you find 60 gold pieces on the bad guy and be like, hey guys, I found 40 gold pieces. Yeah. You know, everybody gets 8. And then the bar just hides, or the rogue hides the other 20. And then like, as well, they've stolen again. And now, again, money doesn't fit kleptomania, but what kleptomania does have is a comorbidity of compulsive buying and spending. And
so you may have the rogue that steals items that aren't of any value impulsively and then buys things that aren't useful, like really decorative clothes or a dagger that's just all decorative and not useful.
Or a rug that is a rug and then they wear it as a cape, because why not?
I think it's a really cool idea of you know, you walk into the market or wherever you're buying things and the rogue's just like, I'll have that, I'll have that, I'll have that, I'll have that, I'll have that. Where'd you get all this money? Nowhere.
And the party has no idea, you know, you gotta keep your game meta. The party has no idea why they're buying this. And like, I love going into another layer and saying, maybe you're, to get out of getting caught for buying weird stuff, the rogue is saying that he needs the supplies to do spells. And so he has all these little figurines and like dried nuts that don't matter and all these things to do spells, and he never actually does them. That's what I want to see.
Yes. Like mix it with some hoarding as well.
Yeah.
Would be really interesting. Like a bag of holding, but it is full of junk. Like several bags of holding that he keeps on his side that are just completely full.
As a DM, someone out there, make a bag of holding that like the party finds. They're so excited to dig into it. They reach inside, pull it inside out, and just get covered in a mountain of garbage.
It's just total junk. It's like everything you would find at an estate sale after it's been over. Like all the leftovers.
It is the leftover of an estate sale.
It's a doll without a head. It's then the head of a different doll.
Right. I love it. Okay, so I like playing a rogue because I like the sleight of hand and I like the sneakiness. Now, now do we? So we said that a rogue is more likely to be just the antisocial,
Yeah.
right? Or
conduct
disorder. Okay, so how could I play a character that would not fit the conduct disorder and would definitely fit the kleptomania? Because it says explained better by.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do is I want to find that.
So in order to just meet kleptomania and not conduct disorder, because we talked about they build off of each other, you would have to no longer meet the criteria for conduct disorder, which means you can't initiate physical fights, you can't use a weapon to harm somebody, you can't steal when confronting a victim, you can't deliberately engage in fire setting and destroying property or breaking into somebody's house or lying to obtain favors. All of these things that we talked about in our first episode.
Which is a very rogue thing to do. And the key to play a rogue without the specificity of all of those things, literally everything most rogues do, stealing, bold-facedly breaking and entering, using a weapon to harm someone. Imagine playing a D&D character with no weapons and very little magic.
And just not like having regard for other people's rights and their things. Like it's
just getting less fun.
It is less fun. It's way less.
There's a reason the way we play the rogue is one of the most fun ways to play a character.
Which is why we're saying
give it a shot.
Your rogue is not a kleptomaniac.
Your rogue has conduct disorder.
However, there are some traits from the kleptomania that could add a whole lot of zest to your game.
And I love the idea of, again, an NPC being thrown into the party's mix for 2 or 3 adventuring sessions who has kleptomania and gets the party in trouble. Like, hey, your party stole from us. And like, without thinking about it and without knowing that it was valuable, the NPC stole like a jade statue with ruby eyes from the temple because they just had to steal something right at that moment. And it becomes this whole storyline that the party has to figure out.
Really cool concept.
So dive into becoming kleptomaniac or not as a rogue and tell us what you think in the comments below.
We'd love to hear from you, and we will catch you next week.